What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to dive into each one of the Xbox game studios, discuss and talk about what they could be or are making, and when I think that these games are going to come out. And I think all these games, now I don't know anything, this is all speculation and just kind of having fun with it and making some predictions. So do not take anything that I say, obviously, with any kind of, oh yeah, he's 100% right. No, we are just having fun. We're making predictions and just talking about when I think these games from these studios are going to come out. We got 17 studios to talk about today, and so that means a lot of games to be talking about. So without further ado, let's just jump in to the video. First up is the Compulsion. This is the studio that is behind the Gears franchise, making Gears 4 and 5. And obviously, a couple months ago at the Xbox Showcase, they announced Gears of War E-Day, a prequel to the Gears franchise. Super exciting. Going back, Marcus and Dom are the stars, and this one is super exciting. They've been cooking up for a minute. They're kind of going away from the story that they were telling with Gears 4 and 5. So I think this is the right direction to go. Now, when is it going to come out? Obviously, did not have a date when they announced it. And I think that this game is going to be one of the big Xbox games coming next year. I feel like this will be a good, maybe holiday second half of the year game. I think that this is going to be a 2026 game. So Gears of War E-Day, I predict is coming in 2026. Next up is Compulsion, and Compulsion is the studio behind Contrast and We Happy Few. Both games I have not played. I don't know if I've heard a lot about Contrast. I've heard some things about We Happy Few, some mixed things. I don't know if I'll ever play it, but 2 games under that studio's belt, and now they're coming out with South of Midnight, and not really much of a prediction because it's already dated for this year. We're going to see it at the Xbox Developer Direct in just a week's time. So 2025, I think it'll come out in 2025. Obviously, with these games, you're like, well, what if it gets pushed to 2026? This now, 2025, a lot of people are saying it's going to be the first half of this year, so we'll even get it before July. So South of Midnight looks really good. Talked about it in my 2025 games video. So yeah, South of Midnight coming this year. Here's one that is very interesting, and it's Double Fine, the studio behind Psychonauts and probably a couple other games that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But I made this list a couple weeks ago, and I said that they're making a new game. I don't think it's going to be Psychonauts 3. It'll be a brand new game, and I thought it would release 2026. But then the Developer Direct got announced, and they had the hidden game, and it's like, well, what if that's it? We haven't seen it. It's unannounced, but a lot of the things that we're hearing about what that 4th game is are kind of steering away from it being Double Fine's new game. So I don't think it's going to be that. So you could say 2025, but I'm still going to stick with, I think that we're going to see Double Fine's game come out next year in 2026. Halo Studios, rebranded, formerly known as 343 Industries. They have talked about a new vision. They are going in a new direction with the Halo franchise. Obviously, that's all talk. We don't really know if that's true until we see what they're working on. And reports are that they have multiple projects in the works. But the one project that I want to talk about today, actually, it's not a new Halo game. It's not a side game, not a spin-off. It's the kind of heavily rumored Halo CE remake. And this one, it's a big one if it's true. It's a big one. I don't know if it's true, but I want to talk about it because this is the one that I feel like, I don't know, I would be most excited about. I don't know, maybe not, but Halo CE remake. I think that if we have it, if we do get it, it'll drop next year. I think 2026. I think that they're going to drop it November 15th, 2026, 25 years after the original Halo and Xbox released in 2001. I think that's just perfect. I think that if they're not able to hit that, I don't know, man. If it's a real thing. It could not be, but I think if it is real, we'll see it next year, 2026. The Initiative, the big new studio, they have not made a game yet, and they're working on Perfect Dark. We saw Perfect Dark back at the Xbox Game Showcase. First time seeing gameplay of it, and I thought it looked really good. I'm excited to see what the studio can cook up. And the question is this game's been cooking for a minute. I think the studio got formed in 2018, and we first saw our teaser for it back at the Game Awards in 2020, I do believe. So it's been cooking for a minute. Now the question is when is this game going to drop? I think it's still further off. I am guessing that we will see Perfect Dark in 2027. I still think we have a minute before this game comes out. It could be next year, but I just feel like 2027 is a safer bet. I think this game's still going to be cooking for a minute, but when it does come out, I think my prediction will be that it drops in 2027. InExile Entertainment. This one I'm really excited to talk about. This is the studio behind the Wasteland series, or maybe they just made the third game. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head what games that they've made. I know they made a couple, but off the top of my head I can only think of Wasteland 3, but they are making Clockwork Revolution. And this game just looks like a BioShock-inspired, just new twist that have a very cool, like, time loop kind of story, or it's like two storylines, and what you decide on affects what happens in both storylines. Looks really cool. But when are we going to see this game? I think that Clockwork Revolution will come out in 2027. I think this game is still a little bit further off. We saw it not this year, but I think last year at the Xbox Game Showcase. I think it was the second to last game, maybe, I'm not sure, but didn't get a date. I think we'll see it 2027. I could see next year, but I'm feeling good about seeing it in 2027. Mojang Studios, the Minecraft studio. They have obviously done Minecraft. I think they did a couple of other smaller projects. They did Minecraft Dungeons and Minecraft Legends. So one can only assume that their next game is going to be another Minecraft spinoff. I would love to see them do something different, but Minecraft is their bread and butter. And Dungeons I thought was solid. Legends was hit or miss. So I don't no idea what their next studio game could be. But I do think it's going to be another Minecraft spinoff, and I think that we'll see it in 2027. So it's back to back to back, 2027 games. I think we'll see the Minecraft spinoff in 2027. It's really hard to tell what this team's really working on, because you would assume it's a Minecraft spinoff, but you never know. But I think it's probably another Minecraft spinoff. Who knows what genre it's in, but 2027 is when I think we'll see this game. Ninja Theory just released Hellblade 2 this past year. Obviously, they did Hellblade 1 back in 2017, I believe, so a big 7-year gap between their games. But we also know that they are working on a Project Mara. Whatever this game is, I have no idea what this game is. But we do know that whatever it is, they're working on it, and they've been working on it. I don't remember when it got announced, but it's been in the works for a minute, and I think that we're going to see it in 2027. So another 2027 game, I promise. These are all not going to be in 2027. That's just when I think and predict that these games are going to come out. Like I said, do not take my word as a guarantee. I'm just having fun with these predictions. I like doing this stuff. I'm a nerd about it. But I think whatever they've been working on it. It's not like they just started working on it after Hellblade 2 came out. They've been working on it, and I think Project Mara will drop in 2027. Next up is Obsidian, and obviously with Obsidian, this is going to be the easiest one to predict because we have two games that are set to come out this year. Avowed is due out in just under a month's time. Or actually I think a little bit over a month's time as I'm recording this video and when you'll see it. But then they'll have the Outer Worlds 2 that will probably come out at the end of the year. A lot of people are talking about that game getting pushed to 2026. I think it'll release this year. Could be wrong about that. But obviously with Obsidian, you never know. They're putting out 2 games this year. 2 games. They have to be working on other stuff, right? You would think so. At least the third project. And there's no telling when that game is going to come out just because of how they've been releasing these games. We saw Pentiment last in 2022. Grounded fully came out, I think, in 2023. And, yeah. So we got 2 games from Obsidian coming this year. So this one's easy to predict. Avowed 2025, Outer Worlds 2 2025. Playground Games is next up, the studio that works on the Forza Horizon games. They're also doing the Fable reboot that is set to come out this year. Now, like I said with Outer Worlds 2, a lot of people are saying that this game might get pushed to 2026. I could see one of these 2 games, Fable or Outer Worlds 2, get pushed to 2026. But I'm going to be optimistic, and I say that we're going to see both games this year. So I think Fable will come out in 2025. But that's not all that Playground Games is working on. We cannot just sit and think that they're not working on a new Forza Horizon game. I think I'd be shocked if they weren't. They have to be working on the next Forza Horizon game. And I think that we will see Forza Horizon 6 release next year. I could see 2027, but I'm going to say 2026. And I'm hoping, this is not a prediction, I'm hoping that we finally see this game in Japan. It's just too easy. You cannot not go to Japan. You have to go to Japan. So I think Forza Horizon 6 will be 2026, and we're going to see Fable release this year. Now we get to Rare. This one is probably the hardest one to predict because Everwild has had such a weird announcement / marketing cycle. We saw this game back in like 2020, and I don't think we've seen it since. I think we've seen it twice. Maybe 2019 was the first time we saw it, and then we saw it in 2020, and it's been nowhere to be seen since. Don't even know what this game is. So for Rare with Everwild, it's hard to say, is this game even still coming out? I'm going to say yes, but this is going to be the first one where I say I think it comes out in 2028. I mean, there's no way to tell when this game's actually coming out. There's no way it's going to be this year or next year, maybe 2027, but I'm going to play it cautiously and say that this game is still pretty far out and say 2028. Next up is Turn 10, the Forza Motorsport studio. Most recent game was the Motorsport reboot they put out back in 2023. They had a cadence going with Playground where they would release their Motorsport game, then Horizon would come out the next year, and then it'd be a back and forth between Motorsport and Horizon, and we're done with that. We have full-on development cycles for these games, and they're going to take a little bit longer. And with Turn 10, they just rebooted. It's hard to say. I don't know. This one's another hard one to say because they have a new engine. They already have the base groundwork of what they want Forza Motorsport to be with the 2023 game. But are we going to see that game soon? Maybe 2026? But I'm actually going to be very, very cautious. And I could be wrong about this one. This one's the one I probably feel least confident about. And I'm not confident about any of these, but I'm just kind of making predictions. 2028, I think, for the new Forza Motorsport game. There's nothing really, backing it at all. I don't know. I just feel 2028 for Forza Motorsport. I feel like they're going to let the next one cook for a minute, and I could be wrong. But could be 2027. Who knows? But I'm saying 2028 for Forza Motorsport. Last Xbox game studio before we get into a couple of Bethesda studios is Undead Labs, who are making State of Decay 3. Obviously, they made the first 2 State of Decay games. I think the first one came out in 2013, 2 came out in 2018, and now we're waiting for State of Decay 3. Had a little bit of a dry spell where we didn't get any State of Decay news, but then it resurfaced, showed itself at the game showcase back in June. and we saw a little bit of it, not a whole lot, but no date. So I'm thinking that we are going to see State of Decay 3 next year. I think we'll finally see this game come out in 2026. I think it's finally time. I think we're going to see a big part of it at the game showcase coming this year. And yeah, I think we're going to see State of Decay 3 coming out in 2026. And now we get into a couple of Bethesda studios. And we're going to start with Arkane. And I want to talk about one game with Arkane, the game that's been officially announced. And that is Blade, Marvel's Blade. I cannot believe that was the most surprising announcement that I saw back at the Game Awards in 2023. Did not expect a Blade game coming from Xbox and Arkane. This one definitely far out. I think they announced it pretty early on in development. Probably just letting everyone know, hey, we're making a Marvel game. We're going to make a Blade game. So I still think that it's going to be a minute before we see this game, but I'm going to say 2028 for Marvel's Blade. And I could be wrong. Like I said, I always say that with all these games. I'm just making predictions, having fun. But 2028, I feel like, is a good enough time. Still 3 years away. And I think we'll see it probably get some marketing in 2027. And then we'll lead into 2028 where we'll see Marvel's Blade. So 2028 for Blade coming from Arkane. And here is the big one. Bethesda Game Studios. Where and when are we going to see The Elder Scrolls 6? Got announced, I think, all the way back in 2018, which is just crazy that they announced it that early. And they obviously released Starfield back in 2023. We just saw a DLC for it a couple months ago. So when are we going to see Elder Scrolls 6? There's no telling. There's no telling, man. This game is probably going to be just so massive in scale that it's hard to predict when we're going to finally see this game. But I'm going to say 2028. I think 5 years after Starfield. I think they've been working on this game, obviously, before Starfield came out. So it's not like they just started it after Starfield dropped. They've been working on it. They've been developing this game. And I think that we are finally going to see this game released in 2028. Next up is id Software, the developers behind Doom and Quake and Rage. I think that is it for them. Obviously, Doom the Dark Ages is releasing this year. There's no doubt about that. This game is coming this year. It might even come in the first half of this year. And I'm super excited for it. Probably one of, if not my most anticipated games for this year. I love the Doom series, especially the reboots. They did a fantastic job with those. But there's another game I want to talk about. I think, and I could be wrong, but a Quake reboot. I think we could see a Quake reboot. I think there's been some kind of rumors, just, not super recently, but just in general, there's been rumors about them working on Quake, and I feel like they're going to do what they did with Doom. They are going to reboot the Quake series, take it in a new direction, while still keeping the foundation of what made Quake so good. And I think we'll see a heavier emphasis on multiplayer than we saw with the Doom reboot, because obviously Quake is a big multiplayer game compared to Doom. So I think we're going to see Quake reboot in 2027, and we'll see Doom the Dark Ages in 2025. The last studio that I want to talk about in this video is Machine Games, the developers of Wolfenstein, and also, most recently, just a little bit over a month ago, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So, what are they working on? I would love to think that they're working on a Wolfenstein 3. I have not played 2 or Old Blood. I have played The New Order, the first Wolfenstein reboot that came out, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm hoping to get around to the other 2 Wolfenstein games I haven't touched yet. But I don't know. I think I would like to think they're working on 2 games. I think they're definitely going to be doing an Indiana Jones sequel. That game did too well for them not to work on another game. I feel like they have to work on another game. So I think we're going to see one or the other. And I'm not sure which one it's going to be. Like I said, I think it's more likely that we're going to see an Indiana Jones sequel. But I find it hard to believe that they've not been working on a Wolfenstein 3 somehow in some way. So this one's a really safe prediction. I don't really know how I feel about it, but I'm just going to say we're either going to see Wolfenstein 3 or Indiana Jones sequel in 2027. Now, I'm more leaning towards if we see something earlier on, it'll be Wolfenstein 3, whether it be next year or 2027. But if it's an Indiana Jones sequel, I could see 2027, but I feel like that might be too early. I feel like 2028 would be a safer bet if we see a sequel for Indiana Jones. And that is going to wrap up this video talking about my predictions, just having fun with predicting when I think these studios are going to release the games that they're working on. A lot of games, lots of studios. I've been keeping up with Xbox for a hot minute, a couple of years in terms of me being a fan. And so I've had a lot of fun doing this over the past couple of years. And I don't know, I'm a nerd about it. I like watching and looking into what these studios are working on and kind of the release cadences and stuff like that. So I had fun making this video, and like I said in the previous video, I want to do one with PlayStation and doing the PlayStation Studios games. That one I'm not as confident about. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to have fun with it, but I haven't really kept up with PlayStation like that until recently when I got a PlayStation and kind of joined the ecosystem. So expect that video in the next couple of days, but that'll be all for the video. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you later.